So how can we get them to show what they know? And so we felt like this might not actually reflect where they're at, so we have to help them be able to show us.
I don't have any specific questions. I just want to thank you and your staff for, again, the great work, this great presentation, and just comment, I really appreciate kind of diving into the data, and I think it's really important, you know, as we know when we're testing, that isn't always the whole picture. And so really when you dive in, I think it's very insightful, and you're able to highlight or see things, and then, you know, you form a plan and a strategy. So I very much appreciated going through this and seeing that that's what, you know, you could see that in your presentation. And so, yeah, thank you for that.
And I've talked to staff a lot about this data that we see. We know it's just scraping the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more underneath. And so when we take time to really look at what are the specific things being measured or being asked on the panorama, we get a lot more information. So, yeah.
Yeah, just a second, great presentation, thank you. And I just want to highlight, I really like the idea of having students monitor their growth. I mean, that kind of ties into Alex, where they're going to be, you know, tracking their own progress in secondary. So I hope you definitely continue that. And I really want to comment on the attendance data. I don't think I've seen a school with an upward trend throughout the year of attendance data. It's normally that natural decline. So.
And I give a lot of credit to my staff for making those personal calls home, that really have those relationships with kids, that the kids want to be there.
Yeah, that's great. So please pass that thanks along to them. I mean, I think we all know that they have to be there to learn. So having an upper trend of attendance is just awesome. So great job.
Thank you. Thank you, Miranda and Phil.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. We have 2 individuals sign up for public comment in person, and then we'll do a second session. We have 1 more person signed up. The North Kitsap School District Board of Directors welcomes the public to this open public meeting. In accordance with board policy and state law, board meetings must be conducted in a civil, orderly, and business-like manner, which means we all must follow the same standards of civility during school board meetings. We value public comments. If you would like to speak to potential items on the agenda, you may sign up to speak using the sign-up sheets that are located on the meeting agenda and on the school district's website. Both virtual and in-person attendees may sign up for public comment. The board sets aside a maximum of 2 30-minute public comment periods per meeting. Speakers wishing to comment on agenda items will be prioritized in the first public comment period to allow for the board to hear comments prior to board action or consideration. Individual speakers will have 3 minutes for their comments. Speakers may not donate some or all of their time to another speaker, and the person who signed up to comment should be the same person who addresses the board. No speaker may speak more than once per meeting, even if there is time remaining. Though the board will not respond to statements, questions, or challenges made during the public comment period, the board may ask district staff to contact a speaker at a later time to follow up on issues raised during the public comment period. When it's your turn to speak, please approach the podium if you're in person. If you're commenting via Zoom, you'll be promoted to panelists on Zoom. You must then turn on your video and microphone to make public comment. Finally, please remember that your words have impact. We value our community's feedback, and we welcome your comments. Thank you. So the first public speaker will be in person, and that is Jeffrey Zucker.
Why isn't school fun, Grandpa? Asked my 8-year-old grandson. What he feels is information from his heart. An organ a machine doesn't have. Artificial intelligence, or machine learning, expands rapidly in the world. A fighter jet successfully completed in mock combat operated only by AI. A business built to create a sellable version of AI fired 90% of its employees once up and running. How do we prepare our children for the world of AI? Perhaps we don't have to. As children, like my grandson, come to school learning in ways that AI cannot. Art math, a research group demonstrated how our hearts inform our brains before and after perception. The heart communicates through feeling. Children demonstrate this by being drawn towards what feels good and by their abundant energy. Play feels good. Through free play, children learn an abundance of social skills, including emotional self-control. Without that learning, playing stops. Curiosity and interests, which have a feel-good backing, move children to learn to read, focus on subjects of their own choice, and in their own time. Most adults think school is the work of children, as it was for them, all of us. Yet research by people like Peter Gray, Maria Montessori, and John Holt clearly point out play is the work of children. Pushing our work attitude onto children, we've taken away their free play, and the children and our culture pay the price for it. Anxiety and depression in our youth are at an all-time high. How many unhappy children coming to school and doing harm will it take to listen to the learning research? Of course, the family generates the children's initial experiences in life. However, children spend a great deal of time in school where they could be healing through play or not. When children play, they feel good. When people feel good, they do good. The curriculums we think children must learn stem from a time that no longer exists. AI makes that even more apparent. With the presence of AI in our life, human learning, the heart-based kind children do, that adults need sensitivity classes or tragedy to rekindle, is needed now. The democratic school model allows for self-guided learning, ownership of learning itself by the learner, participating in a democracy, and most importantly, letting learners be guided by their hearts. All of this meets some of the basic Washington education law. The district was willing to pay money to study buildings, so why not consider study and application of
Thank you.
abundant
Your time
research
is
on
expiring.
I'm almost done. Instead of doing what we've always done because that's how we've always done it. In Peter Gray's words, let the children be free to learn, and they will guide the way in how to
Okay,
prepare.
thank you. Sorry, I have to move on. Thank you. The next speaker is also in person, it's Scott Hendon. Okay, I'm not seeing Scott. Last call. All right, thank you. So we will move on. The next agenda item is board reports, or excuse me, board comments. Does any board member have a comment they would like to share with the rest of the board? Yes. Okay.
So within the PTA has sponsored a STEM Day to support, with support from the Pacific Science Center. So I really enjoyed working with those kids at so many different levels as they learned all about blood and guts. And our state representatives held a town hall meeting at Olympic High School here in Fallsville. It was very well attended, and I was excited to hear that our representative, Greg Nance, is not only on the education board, but he's beginning to really understand the frustrations and the struggles that we're dealing with financially. And I would encourage everyone to support and encourage him as a new representative, because he's really wants to help out.
Okay.
I'll just share, yesterday I had the privilege of attending the Festival of Arts, which at the Kingston Middle School, which was just fabulous. I know several people in this room were there, and I mean, just to see the creativity of our students, and at all ages and all different platforms. And then there was the music from all different schools, and it was just wonderful, and it was a true celebration. So yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone. I know that was a lot of work and time that went into planning that, but it was a huge success, and the parking lot was full. Like it was packed, which was awesome.
Okay, thank you. The next agenda item is board reports. Does any board member have a report to share in regard to their assigned liaison position?
So So I've attended school visits with, Fallsville Elementary, Midland Elementary, and was able to attend the multicultural festival at Kingston High School, as well as the art festival last night, which was, like you said, really well attended and just awesome. I also want to take the moment to really thank our volunteers, being Volunteer Week, that have been a part of our school district for so long, and that we really rely on our volunteers to really help our kids through all kinds of different learning aspects. And I was able to also last night at our festival, a volunteer that I'm kind of partial to. I want to recognize my kids got to experience Jeffrey Verity and his artwork that he did with kids in schools. And I know he will be so missed, and I was able to get with his mom last night and have a moment with her, so that was really nice. But I know all volunteers really impact our students in such a positive way. He just made me think of that because my kids really always enjoyed the time that he volunteered at our schools. So he'll be so missed, and also just all the wonderful work that volunteers do that may not be seen, it carries with them. My kids remember those days with I know you volunteer in the arts programs, and it's just really awesome that people donate their time like that. So to all district volunteers, I just really thank you for the time you give to our kids.
Yeah, I represent at the city council, and there's something that I think the public would want to know, is that the city council is working on tournament level soccer fields in North Kitsap, because if we could bring back Viking Cup back to Paulsbo, it was the #1 financial driver for our area. And we haven't had it for a few years, so that'd be pretty exciting.
And I'll just share, from KCAC, the meeting on April 10th, just a quick update, there is a transportation committee that's part of KCAC, and they're working on submitting a transportation improvement plan projects to Kitsap Public Works. Their two top priorities are around Barber Cutoff and Parcel, which we know that intersection, which is very troubling, as well as the Wolfley, the ingress egress, which, I mean, this has been, and something that we have talked about for years, and Commissioner Rolfes was there, and she gave some really good insight. I think because those are on state highways, it's very tricky to use county funds, to get them involved as part of the solution, but she did say, make some recommendations and said, let's just figure out how we can work on this together. And I mean, she's very involved. She wants to meet again. This will be part of the next, in the KCAC meeting in May, to finalize that plan that will go to Kitsap Public Works. But I think, it's just good. We need to know how to utilize, how to get money for these projects and for sidewalks and things around our schools. And then I also just wanted to do a quick plug for the Bike Fest that the Kiwanis are hosting on Sunday at Kingston High School. If you have not been, or for anyone listening, it's an awesome event for, everyone, even adults, but you can get your bike helmet fitted. They're doing drawings for free bikes. So they're gonna be giving away bikes. It's a wonderful event from 1 to 4 on Sunday. And you can bring your bike. They're gonna have obstacle courses, and it's all sorts of great things. But yeah, it'd be fun if anybody wants to go in for winning a raffle for winning a drawing for a free bike. And then also just another plug, the chamber scholarships for seniors in our district, that application is open right now. So it's you can go to the website, all the information is there, but it closes on April 30th. So I would just encourage any of our graduating seniors to go, and all the information is there that you need to apply. But there's money there, and I would love to see more kids applying, so.
Okay, and then for WIA, first, thank you, Craig, for continuing to forward me information. So there was, going forward to me, I already heard that there's significant rule changes at a national level for high school wrestling to really bring it more into line with college wrestling. Very partial to high school wrestling with two very strong programs here. North Kitsap continues to win the Olympic League, and Kingston High School is continuing to grow their program. So yeah, looking forward to those rule changes, and season will be here next year before we know it. And that is it. So next item is Superintendent Report. Rachel Davenport, would you please provide your comments to the board?
Yes, we've had a very important month with a lot of recognition, so yes, volunteer recognition week, we couldn't do it without our volunteers. Student Leadership Week, so thank you for being here, Noah, and I know Laurie wanted to be here, and she will be back at next meeting, but thank you for being here and what you do in your school along with everyone else in the ASB. Also, National Bus Driver Appreciation Day was this week, and Administrative Professionals Day was also this week. So Corey Henry is here, and she is one of the best that I've worked with. So thank you, Corey. And then in my prior role with working in HR with Liz as our administrative professional there. Again, April's the month of the military child, and we serve a very large military population. And it's a time where we can recognize and celebrate their courage and perseverance in being members of their family, or oftentimes either deployed and helping to keep our country safe. The past few weeks, I've been able to attend the cultural fair at Kingston High School. It was an amazing event. Kingston Middle School yesterday with the Festival of the Arts. This last Saturday, I attended the STEM robotics competition at Olympic High School, and we had, North Kitsap School District had the most teams there. Kingston Middle School had great representation from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teams, as well as our elementary representation from Pearson. Some of the kids from the Pearson pollination plant party down in downtown Poulsbo were also a part of the robotics competition, so it was nice seeing them doing multiple things. After the robotics competition, I came back to North Kitsap High School, where we talked about the Viking Cup, hosting that. We hosted a little Norway track meet, so we had teams from Vancouver all the way to Linden here, and that field was packed. I parked quite a bit away to get welcome there and be a part of that. So we had a lot of athletes attending and participating in that. Just a reminder, SBA testing is underway, so everyone listening, if we can, make sure our students are fed and ready to go and do that testing. It's gonna go all the way through the end of May. And then we have a lot of end-of-year events coming up, so make sure you're checking your calendars and keeping your eye open for any other end-of-year event. One other thing that we just posted, and since everybody's putting plugs in, we are hosting a STEM camp this summer, and Patrick will tell me if I'm wrong, in 7 minutes we filled all of our spots and had 75 students on a wait list. So we are back to the drawing table to figure out how we can staff and get more staff hired for STEM camp this summer, so that we can make sure any student that wants to be there can get there. So if we can get enough staff hired, then it's gonna be an amazing experience.
How many slots? I mean, how many?
What did we have? I don't know if it's still open and
How
getting
many
folks in,
slots
but
were
there
there?
was.
We filled this, we had 75 spots, and we filled it in 7 minutes.
Oh, and then there's 75
And there's
on
one
the wait.
wait list, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
That's awesome. Yes.
I think it's a good example of the parents and kids want to do something during the summer this afternoon. And I think we just need to look for creative ways to offer those.
Okay, the next item is student representative reports. Noah, do you have any comments?
I do have a lot of comments.
All right, thank you.
That STEM summer camp, my brother's on the wait list.
Oh, okay.
I got there 7 minutes too late. A couple weeks ago, Kingston hosted a multicultural celebration, and some of you were there. And I just love seeing how after even 3 years of doing this, there were so many new booths and subcultures I could learn about, and how many different cultures there are in Kingston. Currently, the sophomores and juniors are in the middle of SBA testing, with AP tests right around the corner. And to boost morale, ASB has been putting up a lot of encouraging posters, and then we started this new thing called Cookie Monday, where we just get a whole bunch of cookies from Safeway or wherever, and every student gets a cookie. It was great. Yeah. And then I did want to add my comment onto the discussion we were having earlier about how much does the behavior of other students hurt or help your learning, with a little story from last year, where I gave a presentation, and standing in front of the class, there was not a single student who wasn't on their phone, and like, just giving that presentation was discouraging, but thinking about how teachers feel, doing that all day, every day, it's just like probably disheartening. And I'm glad there's gonna be stricter rules coming soon, next year. And I hope it makes teaching more enjoyable and improves class engagement. Yeah, and that's all from me.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, the next item is the action portion of the agenda. First, we will do the 6.1 consent agenda, which will be items 6.1.1 through 6.1.6. Change to the agenda. Motion is needed to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you, Beth. We need a second for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Brianne. The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
And yes. All opposed? There are no opposed. The motion passes with a vote of 4-0. Okay. The next item is 6.2 board action. First is resolution 040124 out of endorsement waivers. Motion is needed to discuss resolution 040124 out of endorsement waivers. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, we need a second. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Brianne. Resolution 040124 out of endorsement waivers. The motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any new comments for discussion?
I just think it's important that the teachers have a full-time contract, and they may not be able to teach math the whole time, so they have to have some classes out of their way, or out of their endorsement.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I just want to be clear on what that meant, so even that, I just want to make sure I was catching it correctly, so that clarifies a little bit how you said that, so, thank you.
It's just that with our secondary schools in particular, they are for smaller secondary schools. And so instead of each year ripping down to where maybe if somebody is teaching math, you would have to reduce their contract by 0.2, 0.4, so they only teach math because that's all the sections we have. We have this waiver to allow them to teach out of their endorsed area. Keep them whole.
Thank you.
Okay, if there is no more discussion, I put the question to vote. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
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 And yes, all opposed? The motion passes with a vote of 4 and 0 against. Okay, the next item is 6.3, highly capable program. A motion is needed to discuss highly capable program plan. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Okay, thank you, Brianne.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Bev. So highly capable program plan, the motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any new comments for discussion?
I just wondered how we're going to evaluate if this program is meeting the needs of those students besides test scores and panorama. Is there anything else we're going to be doing to check in with those families and kids?
So students that, and I could let Carrie speak to it if you want to come up and talk about student learning plans.
Hi, I'm Carrie Brumley, Director of Elementary Education. I'm also the highly capable coordinator for the district. I need to put these on because you're blurry. orders. There you are. So the question is, how do we evaluate program effectiveness in addition to the data that we look at? So the most important piece that we have is the student learning plan. So when teachers meet in the fall and talk about the SLP with the parent and the child, they come back around to that at conferences. You should be checking in on progress and talking about how services are effective. So between those two, both the in-person check-in with families, great, and the data, we get a pretty comprehensive look.
All right, if there's no more discussion, I put the question to vote. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. All opposed? The motion passes with a vote of 4 for and 0 against. The next item is resolution 040224, Breidalblik Elementary Surplus. Motion is needed to discuss resolution 040224, Breidalblik Elementary Surplus. Do I have a motion?
I move that we discuss Breidalblik.
Okay, thank you, Bev.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, resolution 040224, Breidalblik Elementary Surplus. The motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any new comments for discussion?
I guess I'm not very familiar with the surplus process and what that looks like, but, and this might be jumping ahead a good bit, so I apologize, but, if we were to need the school, again, I know it, talks about that a little bit in the resolution, but what does that process, I guess, look like, or this could be information for later too, but I just didn't know how easy is that to recommission as a utilized facility? Or what's that look like, I guess?
Yeah, it looks like coming back to the board, and so, sorry, Mike, I saw you stand up, and so, go ahead.
You want me? So the surplus process just allows us to enter into a lease with, or rent it to an outside agency. So the terms of what you're talking about actually would likely be in the lease agreement in terms of termination of the lease, how do we opt out, but certainly at any point in time, we have the ability to reconstitute the school and take it back if there's a reason for us to use it for our own district, whatever the reason might be. So it doesn't lock us into anything, it's just a legal process you have to go through in order to be able to have a lease like what we're talking about in this situation.
And then would that lease come before a management report, again, before we would, right, like I assume there would be.
Correct, they'll,
presented that way.
yeah, so this surplus, I think there's a couple things in here. One is that we're surplusing the part of the property, and that we're also notifying that we will publish in the Kitsap Sun or our paper for 45 days that we're planning on entering into a lease. So it allows, honestly, anybody could come to us within that time frame and say, you know what, I think that you've surplus this, we could use it for this. And it allows you to kind of negotiate a lease. Now, I think we already talked about some of the idea around what we're doing. But that will all come back before the board, before anything gets signed or anything gets agreed to.
Is the children's theater not going to be using it?
They're still in, we have a contract with them. We've had some conversation with them about, longer term, what are we thinking, and is it a viable spot for them long term? But they have a contract through this year, and I think we expect that they'll be there next year also.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, I put the question to vote. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. All opposed? The motion passes with a vote of 4 for and 0 against. Okay. A motion is needed to discuss the CTE purchase order. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you, Brian.
Second.
Thank you, Beth. The motion has been made and seconded, which is the CTE purchase order. Do we have any new comments for discussion?
I just think the public would like to know a little more about those tables, because I didn't understand till I looked into it, because it was pretty expensive for a table. But, when you started explaining what it does, I went, wow, that'd be pretty wonderful for kids to to have that?
Yeah, so it is gonna be paid for out of, grants, and it matches the table that's already in existence at North Kitsap High School. It's a 3D rendering table, and so instead of bringing in actual cadavers or working on, humans on a table, it allows our kids to participate in, our new, healthcare class that we're putting in at Kingston High School, healthcare pathway, biology, anatomy. It allows for much more hands-on learning experience, without putting your hands on other humans or cadavers.
They can actually move body parts around, right?
Yes, yeah.
All right, if there is no more discussion, I put the question to vote. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
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 And yes, all opposed? The motion passes with a vote of 4 for and 0 against. Okay, the next agenda item is manager reports. The manager reports will be turned over to Superintendent Davenport and staff to answer any questions the board has regarding the materials provided.
First management reports, budget status report. It's our report every month. If there's any questions for Mike, we can have him come back to the podium.
No, no questions, thank you.
Our next management report, 7.2, is Breidalblik Roof Replacement. Are there questions on the Breidalblik Roof Replacement?
I think it's important that we do that, you know, so that we can rent it out and utilize the space to make some money.
You guys, so I'm guessing this will all be determined like in the process that Mike just described, but I guess I was just curious, I'm sorry if I missed it. Is that funding already set aside for that maintenance, previously, or is that banking on kind of the upcoming leases, or how does that, work in this?
It's a little bit of both. I'll Mike come up, I'm sorry.
It is from the levy, capital levy that was approved in '22. When I came here a year ago, there was a list of projects that we had committed to the budget from the capital levy. That was one of the projects, that has been there. And it really needed to happen regardless of whether we were leasing. If we were gonna continue to maintain that building and use it in any way, we needed to deal with the roof. And so, it's the right time to do it, but it was something that was there previously also.
Yeah, great, I know I've driven by and seen the terms, so I was a little concerned.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
No?
City, I guess how do you stay up there, Mike? City of Paulsbo sidewalk easements. I heard somebody earlier was talking about their report on sidewalk, improvements, and, this is, if there's questions, this is one that City of Paulsbo is doing, out in front of Mill Road, moving towards, Paulsbo Elementary School.
I was really thrilled to see they're gonna pay us.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And fix the sidewalk.
Yeah,
Yes,
there you go.
yeah.
I mean,
I know,
when
what a
is
great
there a
thing to
drop
have
the
you
line?
do that. Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know this project's been in the works for a while, so it's good to see this finally moving forward. Yes.
Thank you. And then our last management report, 7.4, we just had, the first facility advisory committee, meeting since reconstituting and opening it up for applications and having additional members join the already existing committee. So for that report, I was just there for about 15 minutes, did introductions. I got to meet, folks in person, learn who our new members on the committee were gonna be, and then I will let Mike take over because I stepped out of the room as a non-member of that committee.
So we did have our first meeting Tuesday, and I wanna go back to kind of the process for how we created the committee. There was a pretty significant application process that went out to the community. I think we had, and the plan always was that existing members would maintain their membership if they chose to continue. And I think everyone did but one. And then we would have new membership as well to expand the committee with idea being that we wanna add a parent and a staff member from each of the buildings within the district, so that we're getting more direct feedback from parents and from staff at the building, in addition to a lot of the work that the committee will do. So, that went out publicly. I think we had somewhere in the, or maybe 30 to 40 applicants, for the positions. The website, the district's website now has, the names of all of the members. We're waiting to hear back from all the alternates, because if you weren't made a member, you were given an opportunity to be an alternate, and then we'll have all the alternates' names up on the website also. So the names, the applications came in, and that Rachel had, it was a group of principals, and I think Reed, just internal people, but not the head leadership of the district, to choose and go through the process based upon criteria that have been published on the website to pick those members. So there were 3 groups of principals that scored, and the highest scoring were then slotted in if there were multiple for any one particular school, or if there was multiple staff members from a particular building. So that process went really well. We notified folks. We had our meeting, it was supposed to be from 6 to 7:30 on Tuesday, and it went till about 8:20 or thereabouts. We're working with Bassetti Architects. We have worked with Bassetti Architects firm to do a lot of the design work. They've done the design work at Paulsville Middle School. They've done the design work at Suquamish and Wolfley for the gyms that are upcoming. They did not have a significant role with the facilities committee previously. Typically, they're used to working in districts where they kind of work through the facility committee process, facilitate the committee. They will involve themselves and lead several meetings at each of the buildings in the district, to meet with staff, to make themselves available to community members that might come in and want to meet. So they outlined their process. We introduced them to the committee. They outlined their process of what our short-term, because it's clearly a long-term goal of what do we need to do facilities-wise in the long term in the district. But we also have a short-term, the bond failed. Are we thinking about running another election, a bond, a levy? What are the thoughts around that? So there's a lot of, they kind of outlined those conversations. We really didn't get into the levy versus bond. We will do that likely at the next meeting. But it was primarily answering questions. Honestly, this group of folks had a lot of questions, and a lot of questions about why we did what we did, talking about communication, talking about any number of things, which was great. I think in the beginning of the meeting, and Craig is a member, he would probably agree. I think there just were a lot of, I would say skeptic questions, but just kind of real pointed questions about things. But I think as the meeting went on and they heard the responses and how we were answering, I think they grew in comfort. And it ended with 3 groups of folks sitting at tables, just kind of free flow ideas, thoughts that will come back. The whole purpose of what is to kind of look at what are the principles around projects in the district. Bassetti met with the teaching and learning group. They met with the maintenance folks within the district. They met with the facilities committee around principles. There likely will be a work session, I think, scheduled with all of you, where you have the same opportunity to kind of look at, okay, these groups have had these ideas around the principles, and then components of what those, like safety and security, would be a principle. Everybody in a permanent classroom might be a principle. Just starting to build the information so that when we go out to the community and start having these conversations, we're trying to be real transparent and get good feedback on what the next steps will be. I think it's going to be a great process. It was a good meeting. We had people there. Wendy Corey was there taking minutes. We'll post the minutes of the meeting as well. There will be community meetings also, just not just the meetings at the building, and a published schedule of all of those meetings also. So it was a great start Tuesday. It was long. The people were not, they were not in a hurry to get out of the room.
So So Mike, did we wind up with representatives from every building?
I think that we have maybe, one or two parent spots that might still be open and maybe a building spot, but I know that all the secondary schools have representation. Maybe Gordon needs a parent, it could be, I mean, there was maybe a couple schools, but Wolfley was represented, Suquamish was represented, I think, Paulswell Elementary. Yeah, so it's good representation.
So are those spots still open for
Yeah,
them to,
we don't
like
have-
if they stepped up, they could join?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, we would still welcome
Okay.
on those open spots.
On the
And then
open
if people cycle out, or they feel like they can't continue, then the alternates, based upon the score that they have, will get asked to participate. And then they will be brought up to speed at that point when they come on board.
So when you said there's gonna be community meetings, do you mean like a town hall where everybody, hey, you know, this is where we're at in the process, if you wanna
Correct.
come and hear about it? come?
Yes,
Oh, great.
absolutely,
That's good.
yeah. I think right now they've got that scheduled for sometime in June for one, but then of course there'll be more as we continue. There's basically a pretty full schedule between now and the fall, September, October. The only July likely there'll be, you know, it'll shut down in July, but it'll pick back up again. And everybody will be committed to whatever meetings, you know. And there was 25 people probably in the room, so it was great. It's a good story.
I know previous, I spoke with some people that had said they were interested. I would be curious to get, like, for sure on which spots are open, because I will poke some people that see. So
Yeah.
you guys can just let us know so we can maybe outreach to some folks that had spoken to us previous or
So
something.
do that, yeah.
Yeah, and then, so I'm gonna continue to be involved in the facilities committee, similar to what Rachel talked about in the beginning, kind of let the members join and kind of, let them kind of drive the communication at this point, so I'll probably, you know, checking in as my schedule allows. But again, the comments still stand, from what I provided in the last meeting is that, you know, we do, you know, while we wanna have those new members, you know, get involved and kind of drive the conversation, there is at some point gonna be, you know, an expectation, maybe it's through those, work studies that we do that, you know, we're gonna need to provide at least a little bit of guidance, direction about what your guys' expectations are for facilities, moving forward. There's gonna be a, significant capital need, even if we're just looking at, maintenance in the future to maintain our facilities. And obviously the capital funds, through the current levy will be decreasing, so there will be a need to fill those at some point. So, just, I think it's important that we continue to, keep an eye on the long-term, health of our facilities. That's something that will be here long after we're all, gone in this position.
Is there a way, I know you said the minutes will be posted, I guess, I'm just curious if, I don't know what's standard, but for like a facilities committee like that to meet, could we have like routine, some kind of update, or maybe a minutes review, you know, as they meet, or I don't know how, if we could facilitate something, or at least just keep continuing to note when they meet, or how does that work, I guess,
Typically, so Vicinity does this for many school districts across the state. So typically what happens is, they look at the need, right? There's multiple things they're looking at. One, are the buildings safe, standing? Are the roofs leaking? Is the air breathable? And then, are they conducive to this century's learning? Are there flexible learning spaces? We've heard, like Kingston High School today, even as outdoor spaces, they use their pods as flexible learning spaces to have multiple groups. So those are things that they're looking at. So, what they do and what has happened, and even our closest surrounding districts and what other, companies like them do, is they do take what was most important for the community in our school district and what is most important from our facilities maintenance crew, saying what has to happen to make our facilities usable. And they're gonna bring that information to you in the work group, and then you can help set the parameters for the rest of the work that Mike and the facilities committee are gonna do.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure we're plugging continually and reminding that they are meeting and more, I mean, just as important as all of
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
that we get that, but I also wanna make sure, you know, there is awareness that, hey, these minutes are available, and this is kind of the rough sort of summary, but, just kind of what you provided, I think was pretty great and helpful for us to kind of hear that ongoing work, even if, outside of committee meeting, members, so thank you so much for that update, and I just look forward to kind of hearing what the ongoing looks like, I guess.
The community
However that's
feedback.
done.
Yeah, I think the community, once the timeline is set and established, I think that community feedback, both for them being available for our staff to give feedback, but then our community to give feedback within the buildings, but then the larger, we call them town hall, and the larger town hall group, meeting also will be very important.
Just lots of good reminders.
Yeah, and then I'll make sure if, following a meeting, if there's not an update like this on the
Yeah.
agenda, I'll make sure that, brief you guys that it did occur.
Yeah, something like that, I think it'd be great to keep it in our forefront.
Yep,
It's
absolutely.
important work, and I
Yeah.
appreciate the members coming forward, so.
The good thing is I think Michael Rich have done a great job of formalizing the committee, and there's a set schedule and kind of
Yeah.
a set agenda moving forward that, so
Be
I'm
helpful.
very confident that it's gonna continue to move forward on a regular basis.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anything else on management reports?
You don't have to call my hip for anything else.
I know. It's nice, I mean, John Muller was asking for the Animatage table, so I got to speak.
All right, so the next agenda item is, public comments, the, comments that I made for, earlier stand. We have, let's see, one public speaker, who's gonna be on Zoom, and that is, Stacy Smickle.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
And if you're responding, thank you. I'm ready. I wrote to all of you with requests for your individual response on the completion of your required training. Have you completed your open public meetings and public records training, Mike, Brianne, Beth, Rachel? Thank you, Director Mills, for your full response. I appreciate the time you took to respond and complete your training. Thank you. Why was there no discussion or plan for the appointment of Rick's Director District 1 position this evening? What's your timeline? Why was there nothing more said about that? Thank you, Rick, for your service, and today we accepted the resignation. I do not see the agreement with Chancellor or the OASD. Was the agreement only approved by North Kitsap School District staff? I do not recall seeing it at a board meeting. Can you please point the public to where the board approved the facility use agreement? Or did you put the cart before the horse when you sent out your announcement on April 18th? Was your agreement or did your agreement address who will be responsible for the liability insurance? Could you please share with me if the North Kitsap School District would be responsible if the school had a fire caused by a student or Chancellor staff? If capital assets, walls, windows, flooring, lights, ceilings, or etc. were damaged, who is responsible for repairs or replacement? Is there a federal, state, or county emergency, like for a major earthquake, for an example? Is the building equipped with supplies and access to services? Is Breidalblik Elementary School connected to the Kitsap Public Utility District, state, or federal emergency services? I've asked this previously and still have yet to hear from the district a response. If the bridge is closed, is there a plan to get students home on the east side district? I believe you see yourself strictly as, quote, landlords. But these are the concerns I feel that are important. You carry a motto, all in for all students. That motto does not exclude students or define only North Kitsap students. When you ran the bond in February for North Kitsap School District, you said you would need additional space for the growth in the Vinland area. Since Breidalblik Elementary School is closer to Vinland than Pearson is to Slippery Pig, an acceptable distance to you, will you ensure that the North Kitsap School District is prioritized when you write a lease agreement so that if they need that space, they can get access to it? How much money are you receiving from the lease? Enough to cover In revenue, the $700,000 for a new roof. How much of the new roof estimate is coming out of the 22 capital levy, and how much from the lease agreement? That was in the agreement. I heard Mr. Merlino tonight, but I have more questions. Will the students attending Campsite remain registered in their catchment district, or they will become students of OASD or North Kitsap? Will any North Kitsap students attend the program? What other capital improvements will be necessary to provide for Campsite to take occupancy besides the roof? Who will be providing the capital resources for physical education, seating, desks, tables, screens, projectors, computers? You get the idea. Maybe paper towels, toilet paper, waste recycle bins. I'm very concerned we will have the capital cost outlay that will not be sustainable and will cause a deficit to North Kitsap School District. Like you, I want to support all students. I just have many questions and concerns that I have not heard you
Thank you,
address
Stacy.
at a school board meeting. And I appreciate
Thank you,
your presence
Stacy.
tonight, Mr.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. The next item on the agenda, that's our final public speaker for the evening. The next item is executive session. The board will hold an executive session to discuss an NKSD employee and is expected to last approximately 20 minutes. Okay, thank you.